I have memories as a boy of thinking about priesthood. Those moments came largely through my association with the priests of our parish, St. Mary of the Assumption in Waterford, New York, which was staffed by Augustinian fathers from the Villanova province. But I would include in all the years, not just priests, but in my earlier years, the catechists we had in our parish. And I was very influenced by the catechists we had, as well as in high school by the sisters we had. As it turned out, providentially, I had Sisters of Mercy and Sisters of St. Joseph, the same sisters with whom we deal primarily in this diocese. So I've always felt that they were, all of them, the sisters, the lay people who were catechists, the Augustinian priests, the diocesan priests, all in some way, from time to time, got me thinking about priesthood. I would include my steady presence through all those years, my parents, of course, who by their own quiet example and encouragement, not so much specifically encouraged me to become a priest, but who encouraged me to do the best I could with the gifts I had. Early on, I thought about the possibility of the legal profession, but when I got to college, I had no determined life course, but it was there as much as any place else where the thought of the vocation to priesthood more and more gelled. Well, I was ordained a priest, as you probably know, in December of 1962, December 19th. Rather an odd time of the year according to our normal patterns, but that was because in those days at the North American College in Rome, where I did my theological studies, the custom was to ordain the fourth year class in December. So when I came home in July of '63, my first assignment was just for a month in Greenfield, north of Saratoga, just to fill in for the pastor who was on vacation. My first full assignment was in September of that year. I was assigned to Our Lady of Mercy Parish in the west end of Albany, actually in Colony, and concurrently was assigned as a teacher at Vincentian Institute, which was a high school. After 1 year of that, I was sent back to Rome to study canon law, which I did for 2 years. And when I came back from Rome in June or July of 66, I was assigned to the chancery staff. I was a vice chancellor. But I was yearning for parish work. I found that I was not deeply engaged in the chancery work at the time. And it went to Bishop McGinn, and I said, Bishop, in effect, I really would love to serve in a parish. If you want me to stay here, I will, but if you see your way clear to assign me to a parish, I'd like that. And he very kindly arranged for that. So in November of '67, I was assigned to St. Ambrose Parish in Latham, north of Albany. In the spring of '72, Bishop Broderick asked me if I'd be willing to serve on the staff of the American College in Rome, where I had trained as a priest. That Bishop Hickey, James Hickey at the time, approached Bishop Broderick asking, would he have leave to invite me to do that? And I said, yes, if he wants. If you're okay with it, and he wants to talk to me, I'll be happy to talk with him. Well, in August of '72, I went to Rome to begin a 7-year commitment to the American College. I was due to return home in June of '79, and I did return home in June of '79, but I had a different destination by that time, because in April of that year, I was named Bishop of Rochester. I remember it at least the general flow of it quite clearly. I was in my room on April 23rd, 79. I remember I was sitting at my desk and the phone rang. It was a beautiful sunny morning. And the call was from a priest named John Strinkowski, who was calling me from the Congregation for Bishops where he worked full-time. But John also worked with our staff at the American College, resident there as a sort of an adjunct spiritual director. He did wonderful work with our students and was a very good friend of mine from student days, with a friendship now renewed and colleagueship at the college. And he said, can you come down, let's say 11 o'clock, I'm not sure what the time was. I said, well, yeah, John, I can do that. He didn't say why, and I didn't ask. And as I walked down from our building to the Congregation for Bishops, a lot of thoughts crossed through my mind. I must say the predominant thought was, he was asking my opinion about the qualifications of a candidate for the episcopacy. I have to be honest with you and say, is this going to involve me in some invitation? Although I honestly didn't think that was the case. But when I got there, John met me at the reception area and invited me to come to a small office to be seated in a little parlor, actually. And he said, we'll be right back. Well, John didn't come back. Archbishop Givardi came back. He sat down with me, and though I can't give you a verbatim, this is very close to it. You know, after the customary, nice to see you, thank you for coming, etc. He said, the Holy Father, he put it in a way, would you accept an invitation from the Holy Father to be the Bishop of Rochester? It wasn't a direct request. It was, would you receive such a thing favorably? And he added, quoting from St. Paul, don't be afraid. You will be not asked to do something for which God's grace doesn't come to you, you know, that sort of thing. That's not an exact quote, but you know the one I mean. And I said, well, yes, I would be willing to do that. And I've laughed at that since. It can almost sound flip or unthinking. And I really can't explain it, except I felt if this is what God wants me to do, and I can only read these signs of saying that's what the Lord wants, yes, I'd be willing to do it. So I remember later that afternoon going down to the library and opening up the Kennedy directory and opening it to the Rochester section, just to get a sense of, you know, the facts and figures and all of that. And I remember sitting on a corner of the library so that people wouldn't realize I was looking. Why are you looking at Rochester and the Kennedy directory? I was probably a little bit paranoid, but I wanted to honor the confidentiality of it. Now, I could talk to John Strinkowski, with whom I lived and who's a good friend, so that was a great. But it was an interesting week. It's about what it was, that time frame when I had to keep it quiet. But my mother and sister had been in Rome earlier in April, before the 23rd. They had come over for a little visit as I was winding down over there. So I called my mother. I said, Mom, would you like to come back to Rome? And she didn't ask why. She said, yes, I'd love to come back. But I told her why I raised the question. That's how she learned about it. I have the impression some people think when bishops are ordained bishops or named bishops, they think of themselves, or people think of them, that they're the finished product. And that somehow, by virtue of their ordination, they've got it all put together. And they know everything they need to know to do their job without flaw. Well, if they think that, they'll be surprised to know it isn't quite that way, you know, that it's a constant challenge to grow. That is enormously gratifying, because it engages you, and you do grow through it if you let yourself be open to the challenge. I try, you try to find the proper balance of being appropriately engaged at that level of leadership with, your senior aides, so to speak, and your pastors. But you try to do that in a way that leaves you as free as possible for that pastoral presence to people. I try to make it a point when I'm going to a parish or when we're having a confirmation here. I try always to get there in time to greet people as they're coming and try to make as many personal connections, however brief they may be, during that evening or morning, whatever it happens to be. I know how often you're here for confirmations, but I'm usually out in the church for a half hour before, just talking to people and connecting with them. So, and when I'm with people, I try to, however simply, manifest a personal interest in them, what they're about, what's making them happy, what might be burdening them, that sort of thing. And it's amazing, as people become more and more conscious of my coming retirement. It's amazing to me how many people will share memories with me of such contacts years ago. I'm very peaceful about the whole situation. It's not to say I don't have some, a certain tone of sadness or a sense that I'll miss things. I'm sure I will. That's balanced by an equally uncertain sense of excitement about what will I discover, what will be fresh and new in terms of opportunity or awareness in the years ahead. I don't know. But part of the gift of memory, looking back, as I have so often these days, is the awareness that, in good times or in bad, and the hard moments and the easy ones, and the moments of elation and great pain, the Lord has seen us through it all. I mean, the Lord's always been there, and I have no reason to believe that won't continue. So it's kind of exciting in a way to see what this new phase of life will hold in store. I've often heard, since I was a child, the older you get, the faster time goes by. Well, I'm here to say that's been my experience, and that keeps happening. I mean, even now, I don't know where the time goes. I mean, I think that's what the retired years are for, to put it all together, to connect the dots that you haven't connected to date. But even before you try connecting things, just to drill down again into what you have experienced, to see what those experiences still say to you. Because I find that even pre-retirement, I revisit my installation here many times over the years, because that puts me back to a very clear awareness of who we can be and the ways this community is gifted, and how, when those gifts are pooled, what we can produce. Because that, to me, that symbolically, that liturgy spoke of the depth and breadth of the life of this local church. This diocese has nurtured me, has taught me, has strengthened me, has understood me, and been patient with me. I mean, they've given me more gifts than I could ever possibly repay, or perhaps even identify. I'd like them to remember as someone who loved them.